So some people have that effect on you when you communicate with them. You remember them. You remember them for a very long time. Terry is one of those, especially in the noisy world of today where everything is coming out to you and making an ad about themselves. Terry stands out in all that crowd. It has to do with his 40 years of experience. He has been an amazing speaker. He has been Hall of Fame in speakers, and he has had Legends Lifetime Award as well. So you're gonna listen to him to really know the effect that he has on you. I really enjoyed this conversation. We navigate from lots of areas, why travel is important, how to look at different communities. He teaches us a lot about what he thinks about AI and how he has navigated through the world in his experience of about 40 years. He has given us some stories from the time, and this is something to really enjoy upon. So go on and listen to this one. This is special.
Terry, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be speaking to you. It would be great if you'll be introducing yourself, giving your introduction, and the world should know about Terry.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Terry Brock, and I'm a communicator. I talk to people about things that are important, particularly as it relates to technology, doing a lot with AI right now, and I've been doing this for, a little over 40 years now, so I figure I'm off to a good start. But I'm interested in helping people and communicating where I can and learning as we go.
Amazing, Terry. 40 years. It should be an amazing experience. Obviously, you had your ups and downs in between, as in careers. So can you let us know a few significant things that happened in all these 40 years?
Oh, there's you have 3 days for this interview? We can do that easily. But there's been a lot. I've been very fortunate to be around some wonderful people that have helped me a lot, and I'm constantly learning. I find that we have to retain an attitude and a mindset of beginning again. Beginning always. I like what you say at illuminz. You're talking about innovation, and you're talking about constantly learning new. And I think that's the way we've got to do it. My background is formally undergrad degrees, radio, TV, and newspaper. I worked in those before I went to undergrad school. Matter of fact, I had an opportunity at age 16. I worked for a small newspaper in the part of the United States where I grew up called Michigan in the upper Midwest. And I was working for a newspaper. I interviewed a senator, a state senator from Lansing, Michigan. That's the capital of Michigan. And the newspaper I worked with liked that. And as a 16-year-old, they sent me to Washington, D.C., and I covered Richard Nixon's inauguration. He was being inaugurated as president. And so it was for a 16-year-old seeing what's going on. It was pretty amazing. And I enjoyed that, but I learned a lot, seeing what was happening and how people lived their lives and what they did and what I needed to learn. I was also in radio on 3 radio stations in the state of Michigan, about a third of the state of Michigan covered. And I enjoyed that also, getting a chance to learn. And I became a real lover of communication and connecting with people. So throughout my career, and I guess particularly today, I look at our world and I think if we could learn to communicate and understand what's going on from the other person's point of view, we're going to do a lot better. I think a lot of the tensions and the political challenge and imminent war and literal war in some parts of our world today could be, if not eliminated, at least mitigated a great deal if we were to understand things from the other person's point of view, understand their history, understand why they believe the way they do. So I blended that into my career, going on from undergrad and went on for an MBA because I heard this stuff in business was really important. And they were talking about these things called debits and credits. I had no idea what that was. We didn't study a lot of that in radio. And so I learned about that, saw what it was, and then got out there and started offering training and courses on these newfangled things back then called laptop computers. And so I showed people how to use these and how to start working with them and how to get a lot done in business, and was able to travel different places around the world. And essentially, I got to tell you, it was one of the best things that happened. And I would encourage this to every one of our listeners to get out and travel, because I was born in a certain environment, good parents that loved me, and grew up with certain ideas and concepts in my mind. And when I would travel to other places where they speak different languages, where they have different experiences, and I'd hear it from them, what they're saying, I learned a whole lot and changed a lot of the ways that I thought about how the world could be done. And when I would go to places like, for instance, I find you usually do this really well. When you get into the local bar or the local pub or some down where you're sitting down, enjoying some good Japanese sake in Japan, in Tokyo or Fukuoka or wherever, go to Russia, to Moscow or St. Petersburg and have some great vodka there, or go to Ireland. And of course, you got to have some of that wonderful nectar of the gods, is what I call it, Guinness. Things like that. When you talk to people, you get a chance to find out where they're coming from and what is on their minds. And so when we do that, I think our world can be better if we start at the idea of being more inquisitive rather than trying to always tell people what we think is right, but listen to their point of view as we go. So I know that's a long answer. I'm kind of winded at times, but as I look at life, I think that's the perspective that more of us need to take.
This is great, Terry. I could keep on listening to you. As you mentioned that you were great at conversation. I could keep on listening to you. It's really amazing. Traveling, yes, I do it myself. I love to do it a lot, and I find so many reasons that why I should be traveling. And it's understanding different human perceptions if you go to another area. And fortunately, I'm in a country where there are hundreds of dialects, and a language changes every 100 kilometers, and food changes, and people change in every 100 kilometers. Yeah. So fortunately, I'm in a country. It's the most populous country in the world, and I believe that's a real life thing that I have to learn about lots of different cultures and in one country. And you mentioned very right, I like going to different restaurants and different eating areas and different eating habits of people inside the country as well, outside India as well. But it gives me immense sense of how things run in different areas, and I bring that in different cultures. I bring some of it to my own culture, and I fix it, and it's an amazing experience after that. So yeah, traveling is amazing. You mentioned that you started with communications. You interviewed Richard Nixon as well, and how is that for?
I didn't interview Nixon. I was able to be at the inauguration. I saw him go by, but I did not interview him.
What was that thing that made you do all these things when you were 16 years? What intrigued you?
I guess I wanted to learn. Even then, I wanted to know more. And it was the excitement of the moment. Actually, that was January 20th, which is the inauguration day for presidents in the United States of 1973. And we had just gone through an era where Vietnam was still important. It was still there. And I was seeing what was on TV now with my own eyes. And I'll never forget it. I saw people running around. There was one holding up a sign that said, Massachusetts, the one and only. Because Nixon McGovern had only one state. Nixon won every state except Massachusetts and then the Washington, D.C. area in that election. And people were chanting, and I remember the chants they used, where they would say, Nixon Agnew, you can't hide. We judge you with genocide. And as a 16-year-old hearing that with my own ears, seeing it, and then I saw what they did around the Washington Monument, the big, tall Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. They were attacking that. They broke the windows on it, and they tore down all 50 of the American flags that were around it, and they hoisted North Vietnamese flags. I saw it with my own eyes. I was there, and I thought, this does not look good. And police didn't care for that, to say the least. And they came in, their horses, and so I decided, I'm getting out of here. And so I just ran. But I realized this is our world. People were really upset. And I can understand now. We look back in retrospect and say, why was the United States in Vietnam? That's a whole nother discussion. But I can see that. But the way they expressed it with violence, no, that's not the way to do it. And so I learned from that. And as I went through life, seeing other experiences, traveling different places and talking to different people around the world, I've learned that it's important to live life in what I like to call live and let live. Many people will talk about that. And I think that's a good filtering device that we can use on how to live life. And I haven't found an error in that thinking. It's like if you and I were to get into my time machine, which is not working right now, but I get that time machine fixed, that'd be great. And we go forward, say 200-300 years in the future. We're going to have different technology, different ways of communicating, all kinds of areas and parts of society are going to be different. But I have a filter that I can use to make a decision about, is this right or wrong? Does it allow people to peacefully live with each other? If they can do it peaceful, I'm for it. Even if I look at it and go, oh, that's kind of weird. Well, if it's peaceful and no one is initiating force or coercion, then it sounds good. We have to be very tolerant and understand people are going to live life and do things differently than we do. And that's okay. That's their choice. Again, as long as you do not harm another, you don't hurt others, you don't take their stuff. And I think that basic philosophy helps us to have a filter on how to live life and what to do when lots of different decisions come up. At least it seems that way to me. What are your thoughts?
Such a wise thought. I believe the same. Live and let live. With few nuances that if let live means that somebody is spreading terrorism or hate, we need to counter that. But at the same
Absolutely.
time, live and let live.
Yeah,
Such
because
a
what
wise.
they did is they violated it. Yeah, they initiated force or coercion. So when someone initiates it, you have the moral right to protect yourself. And you don't wait for the bombs to come flying through the air. You see it like it seems like so many arguments go back to Hitler. You say, well, look at what Hitler did. Okay, yeah, the guy was terrible, a monster. And what he did, should we have waited until he had bombs actually flying toward us before attacking? No. When someone initiates force, then you have a right to do it. But we want to, by default, live and let live. As long as we can remain peaceful. Now, if we could just get the rulers of the world in all the different countries to agree to that, I think we'd have a better world all the way around.
Yeah, I think there was this amazing thing that I learned about with the United States, that United States has an atomic bomb before anyone else could. And at that era, at that time, it could have ruled over the whole world. But it chose not to. It's a great country, it's a great nation where they chose that we would trade with the world, we'll help other areas in the world come up. So it was live and let live at that time. Somebody thought at that time, like, because countries were scared, as you know, nobody had an atomic bomb like United States at that time. It could have been the boss of the world for a long time, but it cooperated. That's what I believe. That's what my belief is. And that's like live and let live policy.
Yeah, the idea is, I'd like the idea of a model of Switzerland. Switzerland is armed, but they're very peaceful. Notice they did not get involved in World War I or World War II, and they were right next door to Germany. And so they operated, I think, in a way that could be a model in the United States, my country where I was born and raised, I think can learn a lot from that. And I think the United States does best when it adheres to more of the founding principles of living peacefully, of going forward. Now, have we made mistakes? Absolutely. Some horrendous things have happened in the United States. But what we need to do is we need to say, let's look at what is right over history and throughout time, and taking a peaceful approach is good. Armed and ready to defend yourself if you need to, but having the atomic bomb, I think, helped the United States in many ways. We can get into all the details of it and what Oppenheimer did and the scientists and what they did back then. But I think given the information they had at that time and what they did, it was good that the United States did not try to initiate even further terror or any other violence around the world at that time.
Right. So this podcast is all about tech. We're looking at atomic bomb of the future, which is artificial intelligence. What do you think? Are you happy about the future, or do you look at it from a very different viewpoint, or being maybe pessimism?
I look at myself as a realistic optimist. I'm going to be realistic. We're going to look at what is there. AI is a wonderful tool that can do a lot of good. It already has. And it has even more that we don't even know about yet. But also, like with any technology, there's a flip side, and it could be used for bad. I often like to say it reminds me of my buddy Og, who lived back in the cave and came up with this thing called fire long ago. And you say, fire, oh, this is a good thing. It'll keep us warm. Yeah, or cook your food. Yeah, that's good. But it also can kill. It can destroy. It has bad. And you think about it, every technology has been like that. It can be used for good or bad. You think of flying. Right now, we know objectively the safest form of transportation is flying, because it's been tested. Really, really smart people for many years have tested to see what works, what doesn't. And yes, sadly, people have lost their lives in air crashes because of avionics, but we learned from that. And so I think with AI, we can learn from that lesson that what we want to do is we want to explore what AI can do, but then also be cognizant of what it can do for the harm. When we can use, for example, looking at the deep fakes was a popular one to look at, and it has some real world implications where we can have someone's voice that sounds just like that person, or at least close enough to our ears, it sounds like that person, but it would not be that person. And you can feed it the words to say there would be something completely opposite of what that person would say. And even scarier when you can see video and you look at it. Right now we see a little bit more jerkiness in it. We're still in the early stages of it, but I could see someday where we would see a video and it would look exactly like that person. We'd think, okay, that person is there, and then they say terrible words and they come out with vocabulary and denigrating others, tearing others down, or initiating force with their words, then I would say, no, that's not good. Well, we wonder, what do we do? Should we stop it? There are people way, way smarter than me that have said, we should put a halt on AI. I don't think that halt is really the way to do it, because there's going to be bad players out there. We see them in the world. That's reality. But I think what we need to do is to be cognizant of what is available, be cognizant of what could go wrong, and then use AI to monitor AI so that we can have AI telling us, is this real or not? And right now we're using more and more of that, where it can come back and we can say, all right, this is someone's voice, but it's not exactly there. At a 98.3% accuracy, which is close, but not quite the same. I think what we want to do is we want to take AI together. We'll see the good that is there. We'll also see the dangers, and we prepare accordingly. And we have people that are guided by certain principles of not initiating force or coercion, live and let live. And I think as we do that, constantly learning that there are bad players out there and would try to harm us or do something wrong, we're aware of it and we take the appropriate steps.
Right. I believe that, as you mentioned, that AI can mimic our voice. And what if bad players come on and they create an AI, and my mom gets a call because she's old. She gets a call from that AI and says that, Mom, I'm in need of so much money and I'm in need of that, I need it urgently, and scammers can use it. And my mom would send the money to them. I was literally thinking about that when I looked at the voice models. So if somebody could mimic me, it would be very easier for them to scam my near ones. At the same time, it needs people who can take care of those scams. But do you think that World Consortium is coming up, that standard is coming up, where people are saying that, okay, these are the possibilities where it can go bad, and we need to combine together and we need to build that thing that those scams or those bad effects or side effects of AI cannot happen, because it's a very powerful
Yes, I
tool.
think we need to put in the guardrails so we understand that. So let's go back to your example, which, by the way, is not far-fetched. It actually did happen. Some parents who their daughter they thought was calling them, and the
Really?
daughter was saying something like, I've been kidnapped by these people. They need the money. Please send it. And their parents listened to the voice and said, that is our daughter, when it really
Wow.
wasn't. But they heard her. But then what they found out is that as the conversation unfolded, they thought, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And I don't know all the details, but for one reason, they found out that it really was not their daughter. They checked and their daughter was in another place. They talked to her and they realized someone was faking her voice. So I don't know all the answers, but one of the things that we want to explore is having AI detection devices that can let us know, is that really your daughter's voice versus it's a close approximation. It might be almost 100%, but not quite 100%. And so what we'll want to do is explore that. Plus, we'll put other measures in place. We might say, all right, because we know this exists, here's a phrase that you could use. This has been used by spies, people in wars for centuries, for eons, where you say, okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to the room on the left, when really I say that and I say, because it's December. And then when you and I know that if I say because it's December, then I'm going to the room on the left, that I'm really going to the room on the right, or something similar to that. We would have a way to understand and communicate that. I think we're going to see more developments like that, along with the technology detecting who it is. Because think about it, here's a scenario I share often in the sessions when I'm teaching and showing people who are really smart and really care about this. I say, pretend for a moment you're president of the United States and you're in your Oval Office, and suddenly your top trusted advisors come into your office and say, Mr. President, we've got a real problem here. Here's what's going on right now on TV. And you turn it on and you see Vladimir Putin saying, I've had it. We're launching the missiles now against New York and Los Angeles, and they will go off in 10 minutes. Well, what do you do as president? Do you say, oh, this is it? We've got to launch our missiles and we need to destroy St. Petersburg, Moscow, or what other horrendous thing they would think about doing? Do we do that? Well, what if that is fake? Then you just nuked Moscow and St. Petersburg, and now what are they going to do? They're going to turn around and do it for real in the real world. So I think what we need is we definitely need to have these safeguards built in. And I got a feeling that on the top secret echelons of the United States government, as well as other governments around the world, they're building that in. They know this kind of thing could happen because we're seeing it now. I think one of the things we're going to see in this year is a big election year worldwide. Many elections are being held. And so we need to find out, is this real or not? And I think we're going to see some dramatic developments on both sides. Those that are saying, here's the candidate we're running against, and we're going to have her saying something that sounds despicable. And on the other side, we need to identify this is possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to have early detection devices. Let's use AI to help detect fake AI. And I think we're going to need to take those approaches, as well as we get a lot of really, really smart people that will be in certain rooms and say, okay, if they went to IIT in India, they're really smart. And we get some people from maybe MIT or Georgia Tech in the US and other schools and other really smart people around the world. And we say, all right, let's get together and let's figure out what can we do under this scenario. Now is the time to prepare for it. It's like the old Arabs say, you dig your well before you're thirsty. So we need to do our research now and figure out, okay, what do we do? What is likely to happen? Let's build protect for that, and then figure out ways that we can find out if something happens that we didn't even think about. We didn't know what we didn't know. Let's find ways that we can start preparing for that. And I think now is the time to do it.
That's an amazing thought, Terry. India and United States both are going into election this year. And I've already been seeing deepfakes from Indian social media. And I'm seeing that some politician is speaking over something, but they've really not spoken anything about it. And this is the way to get voters to one side or the another. So that's a great example. I hope somebody is doing it, or if the governments are forming a team together and teaming up. If they're not, it's going to cause huge problems by actually hacking the elections and actually hacking the future of people. And that's what my thought is.
I agree with you. I think it's something that is really significant. It's very important, and we need to address that. And I think also we could look at a realm and say, why are people in one government trying to destroy those in another? We need to go beyond that and try to say, wait a minute, let's try to come to a reason here of what's going on, how we can see this and maybe resolve our differences without resorting to force and deadly force that's going to harm a lot of people. I guess I'm the internal optimist to think we can do this eventually, but that doesn't mean we put our arms down and wait for the others to do it, because then that's a sign of suicide. You put your arms down knowing that they're not going to, and they can come after you. But I think we need to look at it as reasonable people and say, wait a minute, why don't we just learn to live and get along? You have this land here, we'll have this land, and we'll have these rules. Let's cooperate, let's talk a lot more, and let's try to see it from the other person's point of view. That goes back to the idea of travel. When we travel and we get to know people, we realize, oh, okay, I hadn't thought of it that way, but because of their history, because of what they did, this is kind of the way they believe about it. And I think AI can help us with that, to start learning more. One of the tools that I've used before is a Persona GPT, I think is the name of it, where you can have many different historical figures and you get a chance to type in some question to them, and they're programmed to answer back as that person would. These are people that are historical figures as well as current celebrities. So I would sit down and talk with someone like Vladimir Putin and tell me why you believe government should do this. and I get a statement that comes back that is drawn from where he believes. I'm very much against the doctrine of just personally communism. And so I wanted to hear from Mao Zedong in China what he believes, not in an argumentative way. Tell me why you believe this. And so I like to learn it from people that believe the way I do, people the way that believe completely different from me. And AI gives us the ability to do that, where you can have a conversation with the person. We can do that now on our smartphones using ChatGPT, using the Plus version, and you can just talk to it literally in your language, and it talks back to you in that language, and you have a conversation with someone, a bot that has been programmed with all of the ideas and the concepts that we have available for a given historical figure. It's a great way to learn, a great way to learn languages, learn about history, learn mathematics from Albert Einstein, if you want. And so you think of the potential that's there. Great, learn about peace and the way of living life from Gandhi. We've got his work that he did. It's fed in there now. We can have him talk to us, I'll put that in air quotes, talk to us back, understanding how he would respond in this situation or that situation. So I think like so many things throughout human history, we have new technology. We have a chance to use it for good or for bad. We don't look at the bad side and say, don't use that at all. And we don't look at the good side only and say, oh, it'll be fine, nothing can go wrong. We have to be educated and we have to be smart. The beauty of it today, we can educate ourselves with just that little device in your hand called a smartphone or your laptop computer and learn from some of the best and the smartest people that have ever lived.
You're very right. If something like that happens, it's really great. At the same time, I have this belief that who feeds the data is very important. So if data is fed into these models from someone who wants to get something out of it or has a different propaganda or agenda, that's a problematic thing. But if somebody feeds all the raw and real data, it would be an amazing tool.
Absolutely. You hit your nail on the head on that one, because it's a matter of somebody could feed it with certain information that would not be accurate. That would be quite deceptive, and it could move around different areas. That's where what we need is look at it from different sources. I studied journalism in undergrad school, and in journalism we have a principle called getting 3 non-corroborating sources. In other words, if I hear somebody say something and go, okay, that's interesting, don't run out and say, this is the truth because this person told me that. It may or may not be true. Get another voice. It's non-corroborating. They don't know each other. And this person says the same thing. Okay, that gives a little bit more credibility, and but I'm not going to believe it yet. Let me get a third person, a third entity to look at that. Now, that also could be wrong. All 3 of them could be wrong, but you got a better chance that they're going to be right. The beauty of using AI today, the beauty of using the tools that we have, is we can try to find out many different points of view. One of the things I find most helpful in using ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or some of those tools that are very popular and used a lot now is to say, tell me the 5 reasons why you support this political approach. What should be done about problem X, whatever that might be? Give me 5 reasons. Good, you get those? Then now give me 5 reasons on the other side of why they believe what they believe. I want to get a balanced point of view. And then I'd probably come back also and say, now give me 5 to 10 more that might not be with either one of those. Let me see it from all these different points of view, embrace critical thinking, and then let's move forward and come up with a much better approach that way. Be more inquisitive than making assertions and statements. I think it's better to ask a lot more questions.
Yes, we have to be more researching. So you mentioned it completely right, that it has to be three resources that we need to research. And I find that not many people do it right now. Maybe people have less time, or maybe people don't want to spend time. When they say we have less time, it means they don't want to spend much time into it. So I believe that if somebody goes to a product that is nuanced, just for example, ChatGPT, and ChatGPT would want to speak about something, and it may have its own tone, and you only go to ChatGPT and search and believe it to be the ultimate truth, just like people believe Google, and when they search, there's a paragraph about something, that how to do it, and people take it as the last thing. So everybody becomes a copy of each other. Nobody is original anymore because they're not researching. And that's what I have literally found in people lately, that everybody is becoming a copy of each other because they are searching from one source, and that's it. So I think people need to go more into research, because Google results and ChatGPT alone are not oracles. So people have to go into different research sections. And that's very wisely mentioned by you, that people have to go into 3 different things and then come to a result. Maybe all of them were wrong at the same time. And you have to use your own mindset.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, interesting. One of the things I have here, let me show you. I'm a nerd at heart. I've got my Stream Deck here. In my Stream Deck, you can punch in codes here in different keys so that it pulls up a given website. And so what I do on one level of this, I've got several different news sources. And I get it from one that is a far left side, one that's a far right side, some from many different areas. So I'm reading about 5 or so different sources, many of whom would disagree with each other. I want to hear what everyone is saying. I want to hear or at least a good representative of the different opinions, so I can hear it from their point of view as well as from this point of view. And then I'll use critical thinking and come up with my own idea, which again might be right or wrong, but I at least continue to stay open, continue to question, and I want to hear it from the point of view of that person who really believes that. I think in the United States, too often we will say, okay, we get the mentality, the world begins at the Atlantic and the Pacific. That's it. Just what's between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. No, we gain a lot more when we reach out and read what they're saying in New Delhi, what they're saying in Tokyo. And so the Shanghai Times I can see there, go down to Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. Let me go over to London and read the London Times. Let me read the Moscow Times. I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear it from their point of view. And then I think we become much better human beings, a richer experience by experiencing more sides. And it's sometimes a little bit testy, because we all would like to hear just our side confirmed, that echo chamber, and only hear what we believe. We do better when we can reach out and kind of have to wrestle mentally with those uncomfortable ideas and go, they did make a point on that. I hadn't considered it from that point of view. And I find that is where we learn the most.
Can we see your streaming device? Because I've never seen it, Streambox.
Oh, yeah, this is called Stream Deck. This is not a commercial message, but if they want to send me some money, they can. But this is Stream Deck. And so what I do is, like, if I just press this button right here, see, that can pull up the Wall Street Journal. I press this one over here, it sends me to other sites. This one pulls up Facebook. So all I do is I just start pressing these buttons, and it does all kinds of activities for me. Like I use Google Docs a lot. So I just press one button and boom, I'm over there to Google Docs. I also have a quarterly review or evaluation that I do on a regular basis, daily. And I have that built, the website, about that long. I just put that into Stream Deck. I press the button and it sends me right over there to that particular spreadsheet in Google Sheets. And so it makes it much easier, much faster, and cleaner all the way around. And I've been using this for a couple of years now, and I just love it.
Amazing. And at the same time, these things are important and you need to go there again and again. So you have the Streambox there.
Yep. In a way, it's kind of like essentially what I would say is people often, particularly here in the United States, and I think around the world too, when the new year comes, they get into a gym and they want to work out. And they're really enthusiastic. They do it for a while and then they kind of fall off. A way to make it easier, if you get a membership at a gym, and let's say it's 40 miles away from you, 40 miles. Long way, or 40 kilometers, whatever it's going to be, that's a long way. You might go once and that was a long time to get over there, a long time to get back. Maybe the next day, but after a while you're going to go, I don't have time to do this, and it's too long and too hard to get there. But let's suppose you got a membership at a gym that was in a high rise with you and it was on the first floor. All you had to do is get in the elevator and go down to that gym, you work out and you come back up, you're home. You would have a greater chance of using that more. So with these keys, I'm able to just press the button. It's easier and faster for me. I'm more likely to do it. Those things that are most important, you need to build in the systems to make sure that it's easy to do. We often talk about being disciplined and working with it, and I'm all for that. I think discipline is good, but you want to focus on fine-tuning and honing your systems. so that then it's your natural way of doing something that is going to be right for you, that you have decided, hey, I need to do this more. And this Stream Deck kind of helps me to do that with the tasks I want to accomplish on my laptop computer.
That's an amazing thing. I'll use this. Thank you very much for showing this. I've never seen something like
you bet.
that.
And by the way, the company is Elgato, Elgato, Elgato. And again, they're not paying me to say this. I'm a big fan of theirs. I buy this myself. And if I can help my fellow entrepreneurs and people who want to grow out there, go for it. Let me know how it works out for you if you get that.
Sure, I'll get that. I'll definitely get that. So continuing the conversation, I saw something which was an eye-opener. There is a Japanese ad, if you have seen the news. So there's a Japanese television commercial. The company makes tea, and they came up with an ad in which is all done by AI. Even the models are AI. And Japanese Artist Association came together and said that our livelihood would be gone if you could not guess that's an AI. I looked at the ad and you could not guess that's an AI. We would show that ad here if it's possible. If YouTube allows that, we would show a small glimpse of it, and you could not make it that it's an AI. And yeah, that brings me to things, how the world would change, because as we started with atomic bomb or different kinds of energies, like internet came up and the world changed, and then lots of things like iPhone came, the world changed, and AI has come up and quantum would come up, and that would change the world. I see these technologies as bringing lots of change in the world, and these are like change management things. We need to be upgraded with these changes, like human version 5.0, human version 6.0. And how should people look at it? If I was just putting up my mind, and I was saying that, how would artists being elevated by this? Because at one area it's huge, because I now am a highly creative person. I didn't have resources before where I could make an ad by paying models or different things for my own company. If I have to do it for illuminz, I can make AI models and I can make an ad. I write a really good story through ChatGPT, and then using my own creativity, and I write the storyboard using another AI model, and then I create an actual ad which looks like humans are saying it. It's really good for me, but at the same time, how is that industry affected? Where would they elevate to? What's your point of view over that?
We don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but we have some ideas. And I'm sensitive to that as well myself. In writing and being a journalist, we always thought, well, we'll always need human beings to actually write. We'll always need human beings to do the voicing on a podcast or a radio show. We'll always need real human beings to do video. Well, that's changing now. And we just saw a recent strike in Hollywood where actors were saying, wait a minute, you can get a likeness of me and then use that in the future. And I think we need to be aware things are changing. We're going to use machines. You can't stop it. It's going to be there. And in a way, we have to realize, okay, we have to come out of it and do something more creative. I think back to many, many centuries ago, farmers would till the field by using oxen or cows or whatever beast of burden they would have. They'd strap on there, put a plow in there, and they would till the soil. We needed to till the soil in order to grow the crops. Well, there were a lot of people that specialized in that. They became real good at how to work with the donkeys or the oxen or whoever it might be, whatever the animal would be. Now we don't do that as much anymore. Now we use machines. And did farmers get out of the farming business? Well, yeah. We don't have as many people in farming worldwide as we had before, but yet we have more production because we're using machines. Is there something wrong? Should we destroy those machines and go back to people, largely men, usually men, behind beasts of burden tilling the soil? I don't think most reasonable people would want that. So I think we have to realize it is changing, but what can we do as human beings that'll help us to be more creative? And we can go beyond what the AI is doing. There are those saying AI is constantly getting better and doing faster. It's going to be ahead of us. Well, that could very well be. But I think what we've got to do is look at what we can do. One of the things that I talk about in my seminars when I'm talking about AI that you do not want to do would be to just put in a prompt into, say, ChatGPT and have it come back with an answer and go, hey, there's my article. I've got exactly what I need. Copy it and paste it. That's all I have to do. That is not the way to do it. I would recommend instead you let it, ChatGPT, take your prompt, and then it moves around getting some ideas on it and gives you an output. Then what you do is you take that and you do what I like to call you-ize it. You make it for you. So someone, Bob, will Bob-ize it. Mary would Mary-ize it. Terry, I would Terry-ize it. Sounds a little funny there. Terry-ize it. Put it in there. You want to put your own voice in there, your own feeling, your own idea. You know that seminar you went to last March that was really good, and the instructor, she was talking about something and she just made some excellent points. ChatGPT doesn't know about that. ChatGPT would not have it, but you can take that and put in there this third point that it just gave back and expand on it to say that's very much like a seminar I went to last March when Ms. Smith was saying this and this and this, and I like what she said about that because of this and this. You're you-izing it, making it you, your voice, your feelings, your ideas, and I think that's where the best writers are today. The best writers are not the ones who are saying, I'm just going to copy it and paste it. As tempting as that is, and as easy it would be for lazy folks like me to say, hey, I'll just copy and paste it. Use that as the starter. Use that as the way to get your ideas. And then what I would do after I've done that, I feed that back again through ChatGPT, asking it to clarify it, to make sure there's no grammar errors, make sure there's no spelling errors. And I could even try to maybe funny it up a little bit, make it a little bit funnier if that would be appropriate, or make this sound more scholarly. If I'm in a doctoral dissertation, okay, I might need to adjust it a little bit there too. But the ultimate product would be a combination of you and the ideas that you initially get from ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or whatever tool you're using. Make sure that is the starting point, and then you make sure it's got your feeling and your soul, the real human in you, because the computers will not be humans. They're going to be big A. You mentioned what's happening in Japan. And yes, that's very important. In Japan, they have a real challenge right now, as many countries do. They have a population that is growing older all the time, and there's not as many young people who traditionally and historically have been there to serve. Well, this is where AI and robots come in, because much of the care that they can give for the elderly who might be in a small apartment there in Akihabara or Shinjuku around Tokyo, and they're on there, they don't have the resources for that. But we can have machines that monitor what's going on. The machines can clean the house, they can vacuum, they can do dishes done the right way. They can take care of dishes. They can clean. They can also monitor for certain health conditions so that we have doctors say, okay, this person is subject to this particular disease or this ailment. We know they need to operate within these parameters. If it on a scale goes too high, we need alerts. If it goes too low, we need alerts on that. And it can be connected back to, maybe by video, a healthcare professional at a hospital, a doctor's office somewhere, to monitor it, and they can talk to them, saying, Konnichiwa, o genki desu ka? Good afternoon, how are you, in Japanese? I know a little bit of Japanese. And so they would say hello in that. And if they respond back, go, genki desu, okay, then that means you're all right. Or they go, waruri desu, well, that means something's real wrong. And so they could immediately make a determination. Do they send a team over to help? Do they make some adjustments there? And so it's a combination of using the AI, the robots, to get these things done, as well as humans that can directly connect with another human. I think, once again, it's not either or, it's going to be both and as we move forward.
Yeah, that's a good take. So when you were mentioning to eyes it, everything, I thought for a second that you said terrorize it.
Yeah, that Terry eyes, it sounds that way. I know. Not everybody can say that, you know.
Yeah, amazing. So we are using AI in our company. So Illumins is trying to use different AI models. Just for example, our design team is using an AI to wireframe things so that they can put a command prompt that we need to make a platform for doctors so that you can book doctor's appointments easily and patients can do remote patient monitoring as well, as you mentioned about it. That command prompt creates a kind of a flow chart for us. And then we see that, okay, this flow chart is missing so many points and we include that ourselves. but and I'm going forward, and then we actually make a user interface ourselves right now, because there's no tool which makes user interfaces right now. And there are some small things, but they're not as good as human can make with the empathy and emotions, because humans can change like this as well. So we are using those things, and then what we are doing is that we are using an AI which is called Locofy, and we are just clicking on it, and then it's generating the HTML or front end of it. And we know that it's not a perfect front end, so our team is the people who are already doing it are taking care of it, and then ultimately managing it and making a real product after all. What we see AI is changing times very fast. That simply means that we used to take 6 months to develop a product like that. Now we can take 2.5 months or 3 months at max.
Wow.
So
Nice.
so that gives us the power that we can have those products to our clients at a lesser rate, and they can launch it. And so that means new ideas would keep coming up, and people would keep on launching new ideas at the same time. That's how I think AI is helping us as an assistant more than anything else. So
Yes.
we are using that, and there would be lots and lots of things in our industry where AI would make things much faster. So I think, going to your analogy of writing an article, I think it would be a book plus plus. So the way we used to write books, we used to take so much time and then we used to publish them. It's the same with software. We used to take so much time and then publish them. But now we are thinking of those things where we can match it with really powerful force, so that it goes much ahead into future, because I believe AI is taking us much faster into the future, and I hope that's a great future. And
Yes.
that's giving us huge possibilities. So I think that's the future of it, because then we can use another tools like Zapier, or we can form lots of collaborations with different companies, and we can come out with a product that does amazing for patients, as I mentioned in this model, having remote patient monitoring devices, those sensors and all, their watch, and also if somebody has a fall, or if somebody's ECG is going up and down wearing an Apple Watch, it would go to the hospital or doctor or clinic, and they can send ambulance ASAP and see those things. So
Yeah.
people's lives would increase ultimately. So that's what we are saying. That's what AI is enabling us as. So yeah, if with your analogy, we are thinking of doing book plus plus. What's the new thing that's
Oh, I
coming
like
up?
it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing that we are doing.
I like that. I think what you can do, like, I like that idea of book plus plus. What it becomes is a wonderful, enriched, energizing learning experience. So this way I can read it. I love reading and doing that, but also we can hear it. So now we know we can take the text and I can listen to it, have a robot do that, or a person could do it. We make sure that's done and watch the video. So now I'm bringing in more sensory exposure to learn even better. I tend to be more visual and listening to something, but sometimes when I hear, I learn even better. When I'm seeing something and I'm hearing it, I hear the word and I read the words, I get to learn a lot more. And when I can see a video that applies to that, think about the possibilities for children growing up to learn whatever technique they need by having the very best trainers in that field teaching them how to do it right there with AI, showing them what's there. So there's a lot of good that can come from this AI. And we also need to be aware of some of the dangers and the negatives that could come as well. But I love what you're doing there in your company and putting that together. You've done quite a bit of good, and I think you're on the right track.
Thank you. Thank you very much. However, I need your opinion on something. These are really good things, really good changes that's bringing up with your idea that in Japan that these robots would help people. Do you think I was thinking that social media is making people lonelier already? Because I used to hang out with friends and my cousins and everyone. So before social media, we also used to sit together and chat a lot, talk a lot, and that gave us like really good vibrations. But as soon as social media came, somebody's phone is ringing, they're looking at something, noticing something, typing back to someone else, messaging, they're already always connected. So with your model, with AI, I think if robot is taking care of people all the time, do you think people would become lonelier, or lonelier would be the new because they won't feel that they are lonely?
I think it could go either way, and I think it's how we handle it. I think that there's a lot of good that comes from social media, but also there's some negatives. We know that because we've seen people that do nothing but stare at their screen. They don't see people in real life. And that has a lot of really bad psychological ramifications that really smart psychologists tell us about. So I think, like so many things in the human condition, it's not either or, it's both and. I like the fact that I can grab my smartphone and I connect with people around the world. Hey, I like the way that you and I can talk to each other right now. I know it's something like 1 o'clock in the morning your time when it's almost 3 o'clock here, but we can still connect and we can talk. We can get to know each other, which we couldn't do, say, 40, 50 years ago. It was just not possible. But now we can do that, but we still need that physical in-person connection. I often recommend when people go out for lunch, hey, take your phone and put it down. Leave it down. Okay, you don't have to check every time the temperature might change over in Bangkok or Moscow or London. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know that. If someone sends you a notice, that's okay, barring an emergency. That's different. Now, if you're a doctor on call, I got it. You want to have that there. If you're expecting a child or someone close to you is expecting a child and they need you to be there, okay, I got it. But most of the time, you're not going to need to be constantly riveted to social media. Probably healthier not being riveted constantly, but you also can have a more rich life if you use social media the right way. This is at least my opinion, and I'm no psychologist, but I read a couple of books on psychology, but I'll trust the real psychologists first and what they have to say. But I think it's a matter of using both. And again, that thing in life called balance. Make sure that you have the proper balance and it's right for you contextually. Sometimes it would be better to stay and do a little more study. When I'm preparing for a presentation, where I do a lot of presentations around the country, around the world, I'm putting in my time to research and understand what's going on. I'm going to be on my laptop. I'm going to be on my phone a little bit more doing that. But then I also like to get there to the place where I'm speaking and get out and talk to real people, shaking their hands, bowing if that's appropriate, wherever I am in the world, doing what's appropriate in their culture, and being able to understand what pain are they going through. What can we do with this technology to help solve that pain for others? And by using the combination of human skills and the technology, we're going to do a lot better than using either one exclusively.
Empathizing people, yeah. You just spoke like Dalai Lama. That understanding others' problems and be compassionate. Okay, amazing. Yeah, Terry. So moving further into it, Skype. You worked with Skype. How do you think that, if you can put your experience into perspective, how you did at Skype and what exactly did you do there? And how do you think AI is changing? What do you see the vision of AI in the future for communications?
Well, I think, and by the way, it was wonderful working at Skype. I really enjoyed that. It was a great experience getting a chance to show people how we could connect with others without having to physically be there in the same place. And we saw the benefits of it for business. Now we see it even more with the pandemic. Zoom has come along and we've done a lot with Zoom, seeing the real beauty there. But I think AI is also working with that. I know, for instance, right now with Zoom, just recently, as we're doing this recording, they came out with some new features that are available, like a summary, so that we can take a call that took place, or say a discussion with a group of people for an hour, hour and a half, whatever it was, and then you send that back as a summary. So then it says, Bob is going to do this. We know that Sally will do this, etc. And we can see that detailed out. Of course, we have the transcript, but it can also serve as a reminder so that we can remember, okay, Bob said he was going to do this by next Tuesday at 12 noon. We need to have this done. So we now see it, and the AI helps to reinforce what's going to make it better for human beings. And it can also track sentiment. It can also track emotion. I think it's going to be helpful for those. I'm doing a lot now with AI for sales and people, how they can learn what's going on. With sales, it can find massive amounts of information, hundreds of millions of data points, and find those who are most likely to be customers for you, what they are looking for, what their sentiments are. Too often in the past, we've said, well, my gut feeling tells me this. And with all due respect to our guts, they can be wrong. They could be right, they could be wrong. How about if we take that gut feeling, but we also get the data? We look at the data that's out there when it's telling us, well, we've got 432 million data points that we just crunched together, took all of 5 seconds on AI to do. We crunched it together, and now we know there's a sentiment that when the weather is like this, people do this more. Or when this happens, they tend to do that. And so we see the inclination to do these types of activities. And for someone who's in sales, you get to know your market. And more importantly, you get to know the people, your audience who are out there, and you're satisfying their needs, relieving the pain that they have. And by using the right kinds of tools, the right kinds of AI, you're revolutionizing it. Oh yeah, you'll do far better in sales as a stark raving capitalist that I am, and an entrepreneur. You want to get out there and you want everyone to do well, peacefully, make their money, but you can now use the tools to understand more where people are hurting and how you can be the one that helps them by using AI. Skype is a great way to do that. I'm using Zoom now much more, but I love using that we can record like you and I are doing today, and it can go back and it can see the inflections, it can see the words. We're at the early stages of this right now, because we know that what it does right now, it barely gets the words. We can say, okay, that's nice, and we put it together. But when you can see the emotion, and when you can see the feelings put in there, and then use that to learn more about how to help that other person, I think it's going to be even better.
That's a great thought, because if those transcriptions can come up and we could use a technology like Zapier and we can put some zaps into it and say that if you and me spoke about something like our birthdays or anything else, or we're going to talk about this in near future. So it would, after our call, it would give us that this is your transcription. These are the points you touched upon. And do you want me to set reminder for the birthday? Do you want me to set reminder that you're going to have a next call on this day? Or these were the tasks to be done by Sanchit and these are tasks to be done by Terry. And do you want me to set the reminders? And we can use Zapier for that, or any tool like that. And then we can eventually use that. And I think that's a great business model for Zapier as well, to create zaps like that.
Zapier is using a lot of that where it connects them together. It picks up that, oh, Sanchit likes this type of thing. He likes that. And I might not have caught it, but it takes that and then it puts it into a database. So if I know, okay, his favorite restaurant is this restaurant, which is 5 miles from where he lives, that's good to know. And it's good to know that his birthday is this, or it's an important day, or his daughter or son are doing these important things. When we can have AI to remind us of that for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are important to us, now we've got something that can really make the world a better place, do better business all the way around, and make everyone much happier that way.
The reminders were the thing of the past. So these assistants would give us reminders all the time, because in reminders we have to go and see. So I think reminders kill lots of creative work that we have to go and type it in that in our app that, okay, remind me this, remind me that, or maybe talk to Siri that remind me this. But then this would be new thing with our meetings. It starts giving us reminders and we already know what's going to happen and we can do more creative tasks. As I said, human would happen after this.
Absolutely. Think about the benefits of that. Someone says their birthday is on a certain date. Go, okay, fine. And the AI grabs that and it lets you know a month before that so-and-so's having a birthday coming up next month, and we see that it's grabbing that, or other things are happening, or it goes out and it studies other social media that's available to the public, and we see you just made a move, or you just did this major thing, and it feeds it into your own personal database. So that customer relationship manager, the contact management software that we have, we're going to be able to have that fed constantly by people who are important to us, prospects and customers. Again, the benefit can be making life better for everyone all the way around.
When you started with AI, when you started knowing about AI, your point of view would have been very different about AI, what it would do in the future. But when ChatGPT and Dolly and all these came up, what was your first reaction to all these things?
I was curious. I wondered what it was. It was November 30th, 2022, when they had the new version that they released of ChatGPT that really showed a lot of change. So we got in there and started playing with it. When I saw, we can do this, we can find these types of information, we can do this with multiple languages. So I can say, how do you say this in Russian or in Spanish or whatever, Hindi, if I want, whatever language it might be, and it can come back and tell me that. I realize we got something here that's nice. And then they came up with even further developments. Last year, when we saw the ability to really do more intelligent text to image, where I can literally create an image by talking it into existence. Create a image of a businessman and a businesswoman at a luncheon talking about a serious topic, and they're working on their laptops. I use that as a quote, put it into tools like Stable Diffusion or DALL-E or Canva and a host of other wonderful tools, Midjourney, many others out there. And it gives me a wonderful picture that I can use in a professional situation. I own that. I've put my creative ideas into it. I'm not stealing from someone else. Stealing is wrong. Taking something from someone else without compensating them as they choose is wrong, but you create your own. And so you can do that. And if you don't like the picture, you say, switch sides, put him on the left and her on the right, and give her a nice red dress versus something else. All those types of little things we can create. So when I saw this, I realized this is, here's that term again, game changer and overwhelming. It's like, what are we going to do with this? Well, there's a lot of good. And I think there's a lot of good. We know there's some dangers, so we want to use it right. But I think more than anyone, for those of you that are listening to this right now or watching this, you want to educate yourself and commit to learning more about AI. It's not going to go away. It's definitely here, and there's enormous opportunities for our world to solve some problems that are out there, real world problems. And in doing that, those that are entrepreneurs can say, hey, we're going to use this, help a lot of people, build businesses, and make the world really a better place, not just in theory and ideas, but in actuality.
Great. So this would be a great time that we get to know what tools, AI tools you use personally or in your work on daily basis or maybe weekly basis.
Yeah, using quite a few. Of course, ChatGPT, and I'm using now the plugins that are there. But I see the plugin, as we're recording this, plugins are starting to go down a little bit only because they now have GPTs where you can build your own GPT so that you can program it to have the prompts that are most likely to be asked, and they are fed then back to you or to others that are using it. And there's going to be there is a ChatGPT store, so that you can create a GPT that solves a specific problem in your database and then be able to let the machines help on that. I can see, I'm sure this is being worked on by people in the medical field, where you can have common questions that a doctor, a physician, would ask of her patients, and those answers that come in there can then be sorted and put together so that it helps the patient more, and it helps that when we see a real physician, you're able to get even better answers that way. Taking pictures, checking blood pressure, checking all those things that machines can do very well. So I'm using ChatGPT. I also use Perplexity a lot, which is available at perplexity.ai. They have a free program, which I'm using right now, but they have a paid program for $20 a month or $200 a year. And I'm looking at that also because it's adding new features all the time. So I'll use that, and I'll work with ChatGPT and tie into a tool called DALL-E. That's DALL-E, DALL-E, which is created by the same company that makes ChatGPT, OpenOffice, or OpenAI, OpenAI creates that. And so that way you can talk into ChatGPT and have it create images for you, which, as a person who does a lot of speaking and a lot of blogging and YouTubing, I can use these images when I need them and have them ready to go. That's really handy. And so I'll use that. I also use Talkio AI. Talkio, that's TALKIO.ai, is a language training bot. So I'm working on my Spanish right now. Today, matter of fact, today, since I hit 1,500 days in a row on Duolingo. Today's number 1,500. And so I'm studying that, learning the Spanish. I got a long way to go, but I love that. And I get someone talking to me. We know that one of the best ways to learn a language is to talk with people who speak that language. Well, with your AI, you can do it at 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning or whenever. You do it and you're able to talk. They keep record of it. They'll correct my grammar. They'll correct my spelling and pronunciation. When I say it, I go, really? Yes, you should say it this way better, Terry. So I can use that with my Russian. I can do that in Takio AI. I use it with my Spanish and be able to use some of those tools. So that's a tool that I really enjoy. And another one that I'm using, 11 Labs is another one that I want to use a little bit more. I've used it some. It's great for taking your voice and make a clone of it. So that those of us who have written a lot, I can feed my text in there and have it come back with a reasonable sounding replica or clone of my voice. Or I can get many other professional sounding voices that can make it come through just right. So those are some others, and there's probably a whole bunch more that we're using. But the thing I love so much is I can hold my smartphone. Let me just show you here. I can take this, and then I can talk into here and have ChatGPT talk back with me and help me in a conversation. I was doing a conversation just a little while ago out there on our balcony. I'm looking out over our balcony there, and I was asking about a philosopher that I enjoyed, Herbert Spencer. He was a British philosopher, came over to the United States and worked with one of my heroes, Andrew Carnegie, talking about philosophy, his ideas, etc. So I was asking ChatGPT about that, and ChatGPT said, Herbert Spencer never came to the United States. I thought, oh, that's kind of strange. I thought he did. And so I went on, asked a few more questions about it. And I said, well, when he was working with Andrew Carnegie, what did they do on this and this? And then ChatGPT literally came back and said, oh, I was mistaken about that. He did come to the United States, and he came there because Andrew Carnegie paid for it, etc. I'm sorry, I got that wrong before. I thought this is like talking to a real human being, only someone that would admit when they were wrong. So those are some of the tools that I'm using right now, and just having a blast with it, learning more, and being able to figure out ways that we can explore and do a lot. I've got a couple of programs coming up where I'm going to be speaking to some business leaders in just a few days, showing them how they can use it they're in the dairy and delicatessen business, how they're going to be able to enjoy much more in their sales, be more efficient by using this. And I'll be working with some other folks that work with car washes, repairing them, running car washes, how they can use AI to better reach their market. So I like working with a lot of different businesses, find out what it is that they're doing, and then go, let's see, wait a minute, this tool here might help them to save a lot of money, might help them to increase more sales, serve their customers more. And I gotta tell you, this is it's one of the most exciting times to be alive today. You picked a good time to be born, sir, because now it's better than ever, and we can really see a lot of good.
Amazing. You told me about Tokyo. It's really great because I've just started learning German and Japanese on Duolingo, and I was thinking that
Nihongo ga hanashimasu ka? You speak Japanese?
I have just started it like 15 days ago. I'm learning the restaurants things like mizu and sushi, of course, and ocha for green tea.
Ocha, green tea.
Yeah, so gohan for rice. So it's just I'm at that level. And in German, danke and ich bin Sanche and all those things. So
yeah.
Yeah, danke schön. So I am learning these languages, and I was just thinking that, okay, what if I reach halfway and I want to speak over it? Because Duolingo has that option that you press it and you give exam and you speak over it. But I found a hack over it that if you speak nearby, it okays to you that, okay, you can move forward and you've given a right answer or something. So
yeah,
I was just thinking that what would I do? I need people who speak German and Japanese near me. So yeah, Tokyo would be great tool. Thank you very much.
That would be a really good tool, and you could try that, and then you could just say "Arigato gozaimashita." Thank you in Japanese.
Arigato gozaimasu. Yeah. So Terry, I'm wondering, have you seen something in niche? Any AI tool which you have seen which is in niche, which is not there out much? And just for example, in my field, I told you about Locofy, that you create designs and you click on Locofy and it creates the front end, HTML or Next or React, and it gives it to you within a minute or so. So anything that you've seen in niche, or you don't look at other things?
I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that, and there's also going to be a lot of good that can come from that. Well, that's part of AI, that you can find a small niche, and you say, okay, in that niche, I want to really find something good, and that's where the GPTs will come in. You can create the GPT with the prompts that are for that specific area. Like, for instance, I could see a dentist doing this with common questions that a dentist would ask if a patient comes in and says, this tooth hurts here or this tooth hurts there. The dentists know these things. Really, really smart dentists can start working with a GPT and create something that helps to better serve that patient. And so that, say, a hygienist could ask the right questions, and the dental professional, dentist, could come in and take a look at it and make some assumptions from there. I would say right now, with ChatGPT and those GPTs that you can get, the sky is the limit. And we don't even know the magnitude of good that can come from that. We're starting to explore it. And we see there's a lot. Training children on whatever it might be, mathematics, geography, algebra, trigonometry. You've got tools now that can train someone, whoever it is, a child or an adult that might want to learn that, on how to do math and give quizzes, give tests. And when you get something wrong, it can go back and gently help you to get it right. You're not going to be embarrassed because they'll work with that. Another tool that I've seen I'm very excited about is called Yoodli, Yoodli. I am one of their advisors on their board, and it gives you speech coaching. So that if you're giving a speech and you're doing it through Zoom or you're doing it in person, it can monitor what you're saying, the words that you use. How many filler words do you have? Are you using any offensive words? Are you speaking too slowly or too fast? A host of variables that it'll give you that if a human did it, we might feel a little bit intimidated. Like, oh, gee, I don't want to tell him, he's tearing me down. Whereas a machine just shows you your transcript. It highlights all the all of those filler words that we put in.
And you don't get offended by that as well.
Yeah, I do not when it's a machine. See, it's a machine showing me and I go, oh yeah, okay, I really did say that. I thought I didn't. Well, I did, and I'm hearing it and I'm seeing it, but it's just between me and the machine. And that's nice.
Right. It's funny how we take machines to be our teachers, but not humans to be. If a human would say that, we would get offended, right? I remember, if you have played on Xbox, there is this device called Kinect, and you can play and you can do exercises over it, and it tells you that your posture was not right because it scans you, and it says that your posture was not right here or there. But if I go to the gym instructor and gym instructor tells me that the posture was not, I was like, why? I'm doing perfectly okay. But I would say yes to the machine. Okay, I think you are right. So that's how we take things.
Exactly. I think that can be better all the way around, because also think from a medical point of view, people might try to hide something from their doctor. And they say, oh, I don't want the doctor to know this. And the doctor couldn't get a full reading. The machine can probably get a much more accurate reading when it's programmed the right way that can help find early detection of diseases or challenges that need to be treated early on. And then you take that, what the machine is showing you, to the physician. Let the physician then look and see, oh, that was right. Or the physician could also look at it and say, the machine was wrong on this one because I know this and this. Okay, that's good. This is why we will always want to have those human physicians.
Great, amazing. So you're in this industry from 40 years. You're working from 40 years. That's something huge for me. I have not even completed 15. So if I have to ask you if you can give me some advice or how to run things, or from your experience, what advice could you give me?
Oh, gee, well, first of all, I would say I've got a long, long way to go. I'm off to a good start. So it's good. I'm still learning, but I think that's the key. Keep a curious and questioning mind. The world is changing fast, and what worked before doesn't always work. We all like to cherish some kind of good old days of when it was, and we envision everything was wonderful. Well, any good old days that you can think of in the past, there were challenges then too. But I think if we can learn from that, and we can learn from different areas, and like I mentioned before, getting out and seeing other cultures, other people with different points of view. If you have a certain political view of this way, and you've got people over here on the opposite side that believe the exact opposite, listen to them. Listen to what they're saying and try to understand why, not in an argumentative way, but rather in a way of saying, tell me about that. Because since you should have talked to me when I was 18. I knew everything then. or at least I thought I did. And I've changed so much of what I've done since then that I realized, okay, we need to keep learning and then keep growing. I think if I can leave you with this before we leave, something that's helped me a lot. I came up with the idea of every day you need to have SEM. S is for study. Learn something new, reading, listening to good quality information that's helping you achieve the goals you want, attending courses, attending classes. Yes, visiting the University of YouTube, where we learn so much today. Do that. So that's the S is study. The E, exercise. Exercise your body with aerobic conditioning, strength building. Make sure you do this under the care of a physician, that you're doing the right thing, what the physicians say it's good to do. Get the kind of rest that you need, would be tying in with an exercise so that you're getting the right kind. And then M for meditation. Meditation, quiet relaxation, prayer, whatever it is that works for you. If you can do that also, you learn to calm your system, which, by the way, doctors tell us is very good physiologically. Psychologists tell us it's very good psychologically. So make sure you have that meditation. Study, exercise, and meditation. I would encourage everyone listening to this to find out how that can work in your life that suits your lifestyle to help you become the ideal person that you want to be.
Amazing. SEM. Do you meditate? How much do you meditate?
I like to meditate for at least 10 to 15 minutes every day. Some days I don't make it, but usually I do, sometimes more than that. It just depends on what's there. And to clear my mind, sometimes I'll use a guided meditation on the phones. We can get those that are very nice. Or often I like to just sit quietly myself. I'll close my eyes, sit cross-legged on the floor and do it. That's what's worked for me. I think each person's got to find what works for them.
I do meditation as well, but maybe not daily, maybe on the weekends. But I go into very deep state. I do it for like an hour or 2 hours, but I don't know how much time has passed. I sometimes,
good for you.
yeah, sometimes after 2 hours, I don't know how much time has passed. I think that it was 15 minutes ago, but it's quite deep. My meditation space is very different. I go into zero. It's a totally, meditation is not taught, but initiation was done by some people who were like really deep into it, and really good people who are very wise and who are like gurus of meditation, and they taught me how to do it. It was like, just go and do not think about anything else. And they asked me not to use any apps or something, guided meditation. They just asked me, put left leg inside, right leg outside it, and there are different hand mudras that you do for different purposes, and then you just go, let your thoughts wander, and ultimately you, after some time, you go into zero. You go into space where there is zero, and then you don't realize anything, but you are actually one with yourself. So it's quite difficult to achieve that feat, but once you do, you start loving it.
Oh yeah, it's very good for you in many ways.
So Terry, thank you very much. It has been an amazing podcast. If you have any last words for the listeners, it would be really amazing. I knew that I was going to talk a lot to you about, and I knew that this is going to be really interesting because you are great at conversation with so much of experience, and I knew that it would go into different tangents which may have originally thought to be. But yeah, this has been amazing. Any words for us?
Well, this has been most enjoyable to me, and I really appreciate you having me on. I would say for those that are listening, there's a lot out there in the world that we know about. There's a lot more that we don't know about. AI is giving us the ability to tap into that as never before. It's beautiful. Now, yes, as we talked about, there are some dangers, there's some challenges. Don't let that scare you any more than you'd say, I will never fly, because people have died in airplane crashes. Well, we understand that, but we learn and we grow. Take an always learning, always curious, and inquisitive attitude to life. Look at other people in the world that might have a different opinion than yours. That's good. Learn from them. We can all learn together. And remember to live and let live. I like the way that Leonard Reed said it long ago. He founded an organization called the Foundation for Economic Education. 3 words to describe how to live life. Anything that's peaceful. If it's peaceful, we can do it, and we can do a whole lot with that. And so I would say stay in touch. I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at terrybrock.com, and shameless plug there, but just there's a way we can help you out. Love to do that. And Sinchet, I have to say again, arigato gozaimashita. Thank you very
Arigato
much for having me on.
gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu. That's
Doe
real,
tashimaste.
that's really realistic optimist, as you mentioned right at the start. So thank you very much.
Thank you.